Ross Tucker, host of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. He works for CBS and Westwood One. You can check out his Ross Tucker Football Podcast. How are you, Ross?
Dan, awesome. Always. I was just on Chat Row with a bunch of your listeners. Love Chat Row. Love being on your show. Let's do it.
All right. How was Thanksgiving, by the way? You are Mr. Food.
Honestly, Dan, well, first of all, you will appreciate this. I was in Dallas. I did the Raiders Cowboys for Westwood One. They had a side carving station of honey glazed ham and smoked ribeye. Unbelievable. But here's what's funny about it. When I go up to get my ham and ribeye, the chef, like the guy with the big hat, the irrationally big hat, I don't know why his hat needs to be so big, but he looked at me and he said, "Whoa." I said, "What?" He's like, "I thought you were James Vanderbeek for a second." And I said, "No." I said, "No, actually, I am Meathead James Vanderbeek, according to the Dan Patrick Show." That's one of the only times that's ever happened. I don't look that much like the guy. I mean, I'm way bigger and stronger. I have a beard. But anyway, he said that. So the Cowboys probably had, Dan, the best press box food spread I've ever been a part of. I love my mother-in-law. She's a good cook, but the Cowboys kind of put her away.
All right, that loss by the Cowboys. Like, what has happened to the Cowboys recently that you can put your finger on?
Well, I think at a minimum, not having Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb really, really hurts them. You know, one of the reasons why they were so dynamic and Dak's an MVP candidate is they've got an unbelievable receiving trio. You know, Gallup is a really good number 3, but he's not a great number 1. And I think that was very limiting for them offensively against the Chiefs when he got hurt and Cooper didn't play, and against the Raiders. That's the big reason why they didn't score enough points in those games, I think. Defensively, they were good against the Chiefs. The problem defensively against the Raiders, nobody wants to throw the ball near Trayvon Diggs for the interception. They attacked Anthony Brown. He got 4 pass interference penalties in one game. I have no idea, Dan, why the NFL decided it would be a good idea to have 30 penalties on Thanksgiving, which is one of like the 3 games a year some people watch, Thanksgiving and the Super Bowl. It was a 4+ hour game. But at any rate, that's why the Cowboys lost, is all the pass interference penalties on Anthony Brown. And they didn't score enough because they didn't have CeeDee Lamb or Amari Cooper.
Are they a contender for the Super Bowl, like a legitimate contender for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, I still think it's going to be the Packers or the Bucks. But yes, I think the Cowboys will be in the mix. I think the Arizona Cardinals will be in the mix. I think when the Cowboys have all of their guys firing on all cylinders, both sides of the ball, I still think they are as good as anyone. I mean, Micah Parsons, I can't remember the last time we saw a rookie defensive player like this. I've had multiple people tell me they think he's the best edge rusher in the NFL already.
Wow.
Which is bananas. He opted out last year. He played linebacker the 2 years before that at Penn State. He's a part-time edge rusher this year, and they think he's the best in the whole league. It's crazy. Greg Cosell said that. Daniel Jeremiah said that. It's really unbelievable.
I was wondering about the MVP, and I try not to go week to week and go, hey, who's the MVP this week? And I'm really kind of struggling to figure out who is the most valuable player, and I kind of fall back to Tom Brady. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers, it would be held against him that he wasn't vaccinated and missed a really important game against Kansas City. Sort of the way I looked at James Harden when people tried to make him an MVP candidate and he forced his way out of Houston, came in out of shape. And I said, he can't be the most valuable player. Look at what he did to his former team to get out of there. Do you think it would be held against Rodgers that he missed a really important game and lied about being vaccinated?
Yes, honestly, Dan, knowing the writers and the people that vote for that award, even if he hadn't missed a game, the fact that he's not vaccinated, some of them will hold that against him. Yeah. And the fact that he lied about it, some of them will hold it against him. Then you add the fact that he missed a game and they lost because of it. I don't think Aaron Rodgers has a prayer. I think Aaron Rodgers knows he doesn't have a prayer. I think Brady, if you look at his numbers, I mean, I haven't looked at it this week, but he was leading the NFL in touchdown passes, leading the NFL in passing yards. It's almost like we've gotten bored of Brady and we want to try to give the award to somebody new. Like, who's the next big thing? Let's give it to Dak. Let's give it to Kyler Murray. Somebody else, please step up and take this. It feels like Brady's the default option.
Yeah.
And people are hoping anyone else steps up. It's like people don't want to see Alabama win the national championship. People don't want to see Tom Brady win the MVP.
Well, it's also that they kind of anointed Josh Allen, and it was going to be his year, almost like he's Luka Doncic. Like, hey, you're special. It's your year. And I said, well, Dallas isn't going to be competing for a title. Luka's not going to win the MVP, which, of course, he didn't. Josh Allen, I thought there was way too much pressure on him because I don't think it's a great offense. I think when he does special things, then it is a great offense. But I'm he's had some bad runs here the last couple of weeks with what's happened with Buffalo.
You know what's weird, Dan? I can't remember a year where there was sort of this much uncertainty regarding the Heisman Trophy, and nobody really seemed to take it and run with it. I feel the same way about the MVP.
But I got to vote on the Heisman by next Sunday. I have to. Right. This weekend. I have to. I don't know who I'm voting for.
Well, and can I just say something? I know the Heisman's supposed to be. I don't really know what most outstanding player is. But if they had the MVP in college football, it's Kenny Pickett. I mean, Pitt, people talk about Bryce Young. He's a nice player. CJ Stroud, nice player. What do you think Pitt's record would be if those kids played for Pitt? What do you think Alabama and Ohio State's record would be if Kenny Pickett played for them? I mean, Kenny Pickett, to have Pitt they are.
You got to play in big games. You got to be in the top 10. You got to be relevant. And as fun as he is to watch, and that game against Wake Forest is going to be awesome. He's just not playing in meaningful games. You have your Heisman moment, and he hasn't had that opportunity. It's really important to have that moment, that standalone game.
All right, then let's go. And I'm going to try to change your mind. Then let's go with Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan. Then,
all right.
Or the nose tackle for Georgia.
Well,
Jordan Davis.
That's who I would probably vote for today. And I go back to, and I love defensive tackles. For some reason, I fall in love with them way too much than I should. Like, I'll go back and Steve Entman, who played at Washington, Ndamukong Suh, where I just watch these guys in college, and I go, God, that guy's awesome. And I'll come in on Monday and tell these guys, this nose tackle is awesome. Will I vote for a defensive player? Sure, absolutely. And he might be best player.
Well, why doesn't anybody ever mention Stetson Bennett? I mean, if Gino Toretta won it, or guys like, Ken Dorsey, I'm sure went to New York. He's playing really well on the best team in the country. He's a good player. His numbers aren't huge.
We're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to do that. It's not going to happen because people will go, oh, my God, Gino Toretta won a Heisman? Jason White? Like that, as a voter, when people say, how could you vote for it? I said, well, I wasn't voting back then, but you had to almost defend why you would vote for the quarterback on the best team, who wasn't the best player, most valuable player on his own team. It defies logic, but those guys won Heisman trophies. That's why.
That's the Stetson Bennett argument, I guess. It's like anything else in life. You can always point to one example from like 10 years ago and be like, well, he did it, so he should do it.
Who's the best defensive tackle you ever faced?
Richard Seymour.
Ooh.
Richard Seymour is the best defensive lineman I ever faced. He should be in the Hall of Fame. Dan, he was extremely gifted. He had incredible technique, and he was legitimately mean. Like, he played hard. So, in all sincerity, D lineman.
Wait, but
if
what's
you have
it like? What's it mean that he plays mean?
Well, so I went against a bunch of D tackles that were probably more talented than Richard, but they just didn't play hard all the time. If you're a really gifted guy, you don't have to, you can kind of pick your spots. Seymour was trying to kick your you-know-what. He was a mean, aggressive player. And I know that everybody thinks, well, every football player is like that, right? Not really. There's some 325-pound freak show D tackles that just kind of pick their spots. They're not really trying, they want to make a couple plays, but they're not trying to beat you. Richard Seymour was trying to beat you down. He's an interesting example. I talked to him about this when he played for the Patriots. When he re-signed there, his second contract, he knew that it might hurt him for awards like the Hall of Fame, because in New England's defense, you must play the run for the first 2 seconds along the line of scrimmage. So he knew he would never have the Warren Sapp tackle for loss sack numbers. But if New England was going to compensate him for that, he was okay with it. But I'm here to tell you right now, if he if he and Sapp switched, Seymour puts up Sapp numbers or better. Sapp could not have done what Seymour did in New England as a 3-4-2 gapping defensive end.
Talking to Ross Tucker. Are the Rams okay?
I'm not so sure. It's like when they played the Titans and the Titans beat them up front, it doesn't feel like they've really recovered. Even the last game, Andrew Whitworth, who I love, Rashawn Gary and Kenny Clark, all of a sudden the Rams offensive line went from a strength to a liability. They're getting beat up by some of these D lines up front. And then on their D line, Donald, Von Miller, not as dominant as they had been. I think Stafford misses Robert Woods. And I'm not sure if you heard this, Dan. Matthew Stafford. This is going to be hard to believe. Breaking news. Play the breaking news.
Okay.
Matthew Stafford is a professional football player playing through injuries. Oh, man.
Is he the only guy who's playing through an injury, Ross?
Every week we hear a new report about a quarterback that's playing. Can you imagine how hard it must be to drop back 4 yards and throw a football while something on your body hurts? It's a good thing none of the offensive and defensive linemen that are smashing into each other every play have anything bothering them physically. Give me a break. Here's the rule. Everybody watching, everybody listening. The rule is if you go inside those white lines, number one, everybody's hurting. Number two, nobody cares.
If I said there's going to be an 18-game schedule, and they'll give you an extra bye week, would the players sign up for one more game, more money, and an extra bye week?
So the top 5% of the players, the stars, would not, because that one game incrementally financially is not worth it to them, and they don't want the wear and tear. They're already making millions of dollars a year. From the 16th or maybe even the 15th guy on the roster all the way down to 80, they are volunteering and saying, heck yes. Yeah. Here's what I always say, Dan, okay? Most of these guys, if you're getting 1.7 million or you're getting the minimum, it's like $100,000 a week, okay? If you went into the locker room on Christmas Eve and you said, hey guys, Dan Patrick just called. He wants to know if we'll play Buffalo on January 16th. You guys all get another paycheck. You all get another $100,000. Every guy, except for maybe the 4 or 5 stars, would be like, heck yes, we're already here. We already went through training camp. We already went through the whole season. We're already going to be here till January 9th. All I have to do is go to 2 more practices that week, play 1 more game for another $100,000, when, by the way, I might get cut next year. I might get hurt. I might never make this money again the rest of my life. Where do I sign? At least 40 of the guys would sign immediately in the locker room.
It's always great to talk to you. Love when you're fired up.
I'm always fired up.
You got Army, Navy?
Next Saturday, my favorite day of the year, every year. If you've never been, I know you have, but if other people haven't been, if you're not feeling great about the country, find a way to go to the Army-Navy game. You'll watch everything. You'll take a deep breath and you'll say, okay, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna be all right.
He's Ross Tucker, otherwise known as Meathead James Vanderbeek. Spicy mustard for life. Thank you, buddy.
See you, Dan.
Ross Tucker, football podcast, works for CBS in Westwood 1.